everybody.
What up? I don't know why I said that. I hated it immediately.
So you started us off in a real weird place. Way to go, Aaron.
Isn't that my job?
Yes.
Like, that's why you keep me around?
Yes. Well, we're talking about 1996 this week. He's got some delicious memories, apparently. I don't like that. I don't like what I just said either. Why are we...
What's happening? Are we having a meltdown in the intro?
It's going to be a wild one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so before we get to our year of choice, though, should we talk about our unmitigated gall?
I think we should.
Okay. I could go first.
Do it.
My unmitigated gall is Heath Smith.
Right?
Get in line.
And let me explain, listeners. So,
Yeah.
let me back up a little bit. I think we mentioned...
I don't think you should back up. Just leave it at that.
No,
We
I
can
need
move
to
on
give an explanation.
No, there needs to be an explanation. But
Because I don't want
Yes.
listeners to think that there's a rift.
There's no
between the
rift.
trio
Okay.
of us.
all
There
that's
is
happened
not.
is that I feel inferior.
Exactly.
That's all that's
Exactly.
happened.
That is exactly right. So we are starting a audio literary magazine called Midwest Weird. I think we've mentioned that before. It's really exciting. It's starting next week, actually,
Yes.
July 10th.
July 10th.
And each episode is a story that a writer has submitted that we've turned into an audio delight, you might say.
They are delightful.
So in addition to that, though, we wanted to provide a little something extra. So we decided...
We had no idea how extra it was going to be.
We decided that on the off weeks of releasing an episode, we would give a newsletter to our subscribers. And in that newsletter, you're going to recommend like a book or show. I'm going to recommend a book or show. It's going to be great. And then we decided Heath Smith needs a voice.
He does.
He needs his own particular voice. So let's give Heath Smith a column. Let's give him no direction whatsoever.
Literally no direction. I can't express that enough.
Let's just say, hey, we'd like you to be funny and talk about pop culture. And he ran with it. And this week, Heath Smith, I keep referring full and last
I
name
think
because
you should.
that is
I think
necessary.
You should know his name.
Yeah. He delivered upon us the first 3 columns. And within the first paragraph, he also just said, hey, I don't know if this is what you're looking for. It's just me being a kook. We're like, okay, great.
I didn't expect the fully formed things that I got based on the intro.
No. So I read the first paragraph and was laughing so hard. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. So then I read the entirety of all 3 columns and got a headache from laughing so hard.
Yes.
And so my gall is about having a headache. You cause me physical pain. But also the fact... We know you're super funny. We know you are smart. We know you are just a goddamn delight. Maybe we didn't realize just how much of a fucking good writer you are, too. And it's so infuriating.
It's infuriating in the sense that I was like, I should never make a joke again. Like, I am done. This is the end of my career.
Seriously, the level at which, like, there's callbacks and there's things and the lists. And, like, where did this come from in his brain?
It was
It's
amazing.
just... So the takeaway from this, listeners, is that you must go over to MidwestWeird.com, sign up for the newsletter so that you can partake in this column, so that you can then also have a headache and be infuriated
My
with
goal
laughter.
is for everyone to be in pain.
I have not laughed that hard in quite a while. I started reading it when I was on a call where I just had to be on it listening. And then I was like, I got so nervous that people could hear me. I stopped because I was laughing out loud. And I'm like, I can't do this right now. I can't, it's too much. So then.
Well, and it came on Wednesday, and I think I was sort of having a shitty day. You were having a shitty day, and we both texted each other like, oh, this was everything we needed. So how very dare you, Heath Smith?
Yeah.
But also thank you.
Yeah.
So it was a great read. It was a great time. This column is going to be fantastic.
I mean, I'm not giving a spoiler. I'm just saying I went to the grocery store yesterday, and I spent a lot of time laughing in the cereal aisle.
Yeah, you have no idea where these topics are going to go. I had no idea where they were going to go. So anyway, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. You can hop right on over there, subscribe, and then you'll get all the hilarity. So what do you have to say for yourself?
Thank you. I'm bad at taking compliments.
That's why I wanted to do it as gall, so I could make it funny and also get lots of compliments in. So there you go.
All right. Well, you did it.
I worked around the system. All right, what about you, Erin? I know you also had some gall with Heath. But,
I did.
beyond
I piggybacked on that.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
beyond
yeah.
that, my gall this week, and I know that this is going to seem wide-reaching and wide-ranging, but hear me out.
Okay.
Fuck you, technology.
Oh!
Because I had so many technological fails this week that I sort of was like at my limit. But the biggest one is that I don't understand how we don't have a better process with phones yet. My screen cracked some time ago, and who cares, right? But then it cracked more, and I couldn't actually use the screen on my phone. Beyond, I could sort of still make calls and get texts and that type of thing. So I opted for the option we have an insurance, claim with our provider. And they gave me the option that they would just send me a phone to the house so that I could do it myself, which I was like, great, because nothing is worse for me than standing for 2 hours in a cell phone store while they transfer your stuff or whatever it is that they do. So I was like, that's great, wonderful. So I waited till I was in the right headspace. I sat down. I got it all ready to go. And it proceeded to still take 2 hours of transferring things. Okay, fine. I'm in my own home. I can deal with that. What I can't deal with is since then, every time I get up in the morning, there's an update. And every time it adds 5 games minimum to my phone. So it took 2 hours that night because when I picked up the new phone after it transferred all my data, it looks like my old phone. It has the background picture, everything. I flip and there's multiple pages of apps, which is not my thing. And I'm like, what is happening? I deleted so many games. That took 20 minutes to delete all the games. So I'm like, first of all, this would have taken an hour to transfer if you didn't add a bunch of games I didn't want or have before. Then, ever since then, they keep adding back some of the games I deleted. And I know that you went after the hot dollars, cell phone people, and got the games. Hot game dollars. But I opted out once. I don't want to have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It happened again this morning. I woke up and there was an update. It said your software downloaded. I'm like, at this point, I think this might be a hack. I don't even know. Because why are we updating every day since I got this?
Russians are in your phone.
Yes.
The Russians are in your phone.
Putting the dumbest games. Why?
But in those games.
Why 4 slot games? Why 4?
Because the minute you start playing them, they get all your information.
Yes.
Get it all.
Delete, uninstall. I can't. I cannot handle it anymore. I just think we have to have a better process. I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out if I had an actual physical SIM card because it said you might have one, you might have a digital one. I finally find the thing, I open it, there's nothing in there, but I can't tell. The way they're saying is that it could be stuck in the phone. And so
what?
I have to call the 800 number and be like, do I have a physical SIM card? And he's like, well, you may or you may not. I hung up. Because why?
I had one question.
Yeah, you may or may not. What are you, the cat from Alice in Wonderland? Yeah. I don't need that. Your customer service.
Well, fuck you, technology.
Yeah. Fuck you. Also, this week, a computer system that we use for all of our business went down for 2 hours in the morning, and it caused sheer panic because I was like, okay, I have a backup of all these files. I don't exactly know how to use the backup. So then I added that to my to-do list. I better figure that out in case there is a catastrophic event.
Oh, my God.
So, and our power went out this week.
Oh.
You were just running from emergency to emergency.
Just done. Okay.
And then a full week of Supreme Court fuckery, too. Good thing we had Heath's column.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
So it was much needed.
One bright spot.
It's the least shitty thing in a shitty week.
No, that's not doing it justice. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What about you, Heath?
My unmitigated gall is apathy about the upcoming presidential election. As we mentioned, the debate was the other night. I did not watch it because I don't want any part of that. But the next day, just all over social media, and in person, I heard people at the gym talking about how one's a criminal and one just is a bumbling old man, and they keep treating these two people like they're equally bad, and they're not. One of them is like a glass of ice cold diarrhea, and the other one is a glass of skim milk when you'd rather have 1%. That's it. No one's asking you to marry Joe Biden. No one. expects him to be perfect. It is none of those things. But if you vote for the other guy,
Yeah.
it's going to be real bad for a long, long time. And if you vote for Joe Biden, he's not my first choice for this. If I could pick anybody on the planet, he's not. But he's our best option. Mm-hmm. And so stop acting, like you don't want to pick either one of them. Just go vote for Joe Biden and stop pushing this idea to all these people who might not go vote that there's not a good option because we got a shitty option and maybe just not the best option in the world.
That's such a great point that everyone's equating them and they're not equal in any way. We've got a guy that is actively trying to tear down everything about government and all of our rights and everything, and then we just got an old dude.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet that was like, or whatever it is. What do you call it when it's on X?
I'm calling it a tweet.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, did that change? It shows that I'm not on Twitter, but I saw it on a news program. But that said, listen, Joe Biden had a bad night. Trump's a bad president and a bad person. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. As someone who watched it, the feeling that I got is that I think what the American people are looking for is more of like a dunk tank situation.
Right.
And that every time you say something that isn't true, you just get dunked.
Right.
So that because that's the problem, is that everything he said was a lie.
Yes.
But instead we're focusing on how old Joe Biden is and we've lost the thread that he literally didn't say one thing that was true on stage the whole time.
Right.
Unbelievable.
But I think you're right. It is concerning that, especially, I don't say among youths, but like it feels like a lot of people are just like, well, I don't know if I'll vote at all. I'm like, that's not the answer, dude. That's not it.
Nope.
Yeah, you're going to have to just go with the guy who's going to honestly, in a lot of ways, keep the status quo to get us to the next election, honestly. Because otherwise, this goes bad.
Yeah, so people need to stop fucking around. Stop putting shit on social media being like there's no good choice. Just fucking stop. Just don't.
And during Pride Month.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's homophobic.
I mean, it is.
It is kind of, actually, it is. Yeah. I mean,
an anti-woman.
Very.
So, should we make ourselves laugh?
Yes,
we're talking about
please.
1996.
Please. Yes.
Well, I'll go ahead and start
Okay.
for 1996, and I'm taking a gamble and going with a movie.
Oh, boy.
And it's a movie called Fargo.
Oh.
Okay, good. You didn't choose this. I figured you might not.
I chose no movies. You guys are the experts.
For those who don't know, this was way before the show that's going on right now. This was a movie film made by the Coen brothers in all of their wacky, bizarre, gory glory. Ooh, that was a nice
That was
phrase.
good.
Yeah, I like that. They went on to win the Oscar for Best Screenplay for this, and Frances McDormand, national treasure that she is, won Best Actress for this.
As she should have, yes.
And what I love is from the very get, it starts with a mind fuck because it says in the credits, like, this is based on a true story to protect the real individuals. We've changed all the names, whatever. They've gone on to say that's absolutely not true. Like, it's just been a total, like, prank on viewers for years and years. In the show, they've gone on and adapted that, which I kind of love. We've gone back in time to 1987. And Jerry Lundegaard, who is William H. Macy, is a car dealer in Minnesota. He's a bad one. He's not good at it. And it's owned by his father-in-law, who's a rich asshole. And he hates him. And Jerry has, embezzled some money. Whoops.
Oopsie poopsie.
Yeah. So to fix it, he does the only natural thing that you could think of, which is plot to have his wife, Jean, kidnapped for ransom.
Watch out, Gene.
I mean, I see the logical line. It's not,
So he meets with some dirtbags in Fargo, including Carl, who is Steve Buscemi, and Geyer, who is an actor that I did not write down his name.
No need.
Yeah. And these two dirtbags, they agree to do it.
So, gayer.
Yeah.
Is it like gayer like as in more gay? Or like gayer as like in short for Gary?
It's Gaear.
Okay. All right.
Sort of a Dutch, Swedish gay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So they kidnap Jean. They drive her up to Brainerd, Minnesota, which I've been when I was a kid. It's way the fuck up there. It's real cold. And on the way to right outside Brainerd, they shoot a cop who has stopped them. And then they kill two witnesses who saw them shoot the cop. And this is when we meet Marge Gunderson, Frances McDormand, who is a very pregnant police chief in Brainerd. And she's the one that's put in charge of the investigation. She has a wonderful Minnesota accent, as they all do. And meanwhile, the scene with Jerry, the car dealer, and his father-in-law gets more and more fucked, and the money exchange gets more and more botched. Jerry keeps trying to control the situation so he can get that money. And the father-in-law, because he's a rich asshole, wants more control, ends up in a shootout. The father-in-law dies. King scumbag Steve Buscemi gets shot. But he gets all the money. He buries the money in the snow outside Brainerd. And then when he gets back to his buddy, Gayer, Gayer decides, I don't like Carl, and kills him. And then feeds him to a wood chipper. And that's when Marge. That's when Marge comes along and breaks the case wide open. So Jerry goes to jail. Carl and Gayer are both dead. And good old Marge, she has her lovely husband at home. And it's the end of the story. It sounds violent. It is.
Yeah.
It's also so weird. It's so funny. I'm not doing justice to it because there's no way to encapsulate all the strange interactions, the reliance on the Midwest as the setting, but also the whole idea of Midwest nice and Minnesota nice. And if you're not from the Midwest or Iowa nice, then you may not understand how there's this whole, veneer of niceness in the Midwest that hides a very cutting passive aggression, as well as sometimes just aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the movie, obviously, it did very well. It got lots of awards. And then the show came in 2014. And at first, I wasn't going to watch it because I thought, well, is this a straight adaptation? That's dumb. And then I did watch it, and it was a glorious thing to watch. It's not a straight adaptation. It's set in the sort of the same world, the same sort of universe. Each season is a different story. The first season kind of sticks closely to a similar story to the movie. The second season is my favorite. It goes back in time, and there's a organized crime family led by Gene Smart, as well as some aliens.
Oh, nice.
And I think we're up to 5 seasons now.
Yeah.
And occasionally the show will make like a minor plot point or a bigger plot point, something from the movie. Such as, I think it was season 3, where maybe it was season 1, where they decided to find that suitcase that was buried in the snow. And so that became a plot point from the movie. So well done.
Very well done.
Yeah.
I will say that when you search on Google, one of the first things, like if you're searching for Fargo, because a while ago I was searching for when the next season was coming out, and one of the first things that pops up is Fargo based on a true story?
It's like this long-running prank that they just, And for a while, like the Coen brothers were like, yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, I mean, we've changed a few things. And then over time, they kept going, I mean, we changed more. And then finally, like decades later, they're like, no, it was a total lie.
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's nothing true.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
I love that it still gets people, though, because they do it in the beginning of the shows, too. Well, I can piggyback on prank.
Please do.
Because one of my favorite things, I went with 1996, things that I very specifically remember happening.
Okay.
And this one, I don't know why this is stuck in my head. I remember completely falling for it, and I don't think that I got the information as quickly as everyone else did that this was a prank. But on April 1st, April Fool's Day 1996, Taco Bell took out a full-page ad in 7 major newspapers, like the Washington Post, we're talking the big ones, saying that they were buying the Liberty Bell in benefit of the country to help reduce debt. So they said that it was going to be called the Taco Liberty Bell. And it was going to be sponsored. So the ad says, in an effort to help the national debt, Taco Bell is pleased to announce that we have agreed to purchase the Liberty Bell, one of our country's most historic treasures. It will now be called the Taco Liberty Bell and will still be accessible to the American public for viewing. While some might find this controversial, we hope our move will prompt other corporations to take similar action to do their part to reduce the country's debt. Around noon that day, based on how many calls they were getting, they decided to go ahead and cop to the fact that it was all, a prank, an advertising prank. And it's gone down in history as like one of the most successful advertising campaigns, most creative, all of that. I guess people heard Taco Bell and they were just like, we should go to Taco Bell. it didn't make that direct correlation for me. But I remember hearing about this, and then I think because of my age, there wasn't like a follow-up. Like I didn't immediately know that day. I didn't watch the news on a regular basis at that time that it had been said it was a prank. So for a long time, I thought that Taco Bell owned the Liberty Bell.
The Taco Liberty Bell!
Yeah, which I was like, I mean, it's not that out of the realm that corporations would buy it. And then I guess that the White House press secretary at that time made a joke that they sold the Lincoln Memorial to the Lincoln Car Company and all the... I mean, is it that far off? I mean, everything's corporate sponsored, right?
Actually, I mean, thinking about this, like, I could see somebody doing this now. Also, I just noticed that they changed the Taco Bell logo to have the little crack from the Liberty Bell.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
And it's
went all
credited
in.
with 2 guys that came up with it, which means that I automatically had to think of what the marketing meeting was like.
Yeah, you
for
did.
this.
Yes, you did.
And ultimately where I landed was that I think that these 2 knuckleheads actually thought they could buy the Liberty Bell. And that was the first move. And it didn't work. And then they were like, well, we'll just say it was a prank. Like they put it out there and they thought maybe, like they couldn't get any traction. They kept writing the White House. They didn't get any response to buy it. So they're like, let's just do an ad. And then they'll have to sell it to us because the American public will want it. And then they were like, oh, they feel no pressure to sell us the Liberty Bell. It's a prank, guys. We were joking. April Fools. Ha ha.
Remind me when Taco Bell had the brilliant idea of trying to sell tacos in Mexico.
Yeah.
What year was that? Is
19,
that 80s or 90s?
I think it was 90s.
Was it like 93 or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying to place it in relation to this.
I think
'Cause
this came after.
Okay, because
Yeah,
they had
so
quite a marketing team at the time.
Crackpot marketing team.
Yeah.
Just killing it with their ideas. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to them, I guess, for having a successful advertising campaign. But I don't think that's what it started as. I think you had 2 guys in
They
there.
stumbled onto this joke. They
Yeah.
didn't think of the joke.
Yeah.
What were the kind of calls that they were getting, do you think?
It said that the Taco Bell was getting flooded with calls to their customer service to find out if it was true, if they were really buying it, if they were going to change their menu to have like menu items about the Liberty Bell.
People were taking time out of their day to call Taco Bell and ask if they were going to change the menu.
Yeah,
Like
The 90s were a wild time.
a wild time.
These are tacos are bell shaped now.
Yeah, like what did you think was going to happen?
Like, this is the most important thing I have to do today is call Taco Bell's headquarters and figure out what's going on.
But I remember, like, for a few years after that, if someone would mention the Liberty Bell, they'd be like, "Oh, the one Taco Bell owns." I don't know why it was such a big thing I was around it
I don't
so
think
much.
I'd ever heard it.
Yeah, I see. These are the things that shouldn't have entered my mind so deeply, and then I geography somehow still escapes me. Like, good job, Aaron. You really focused on the right details.
You can't help what, your brain thinks is necessary. Your brain is like 80% fake marketing meetings.
Yes,
And then 20%, necessary stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, your kids' names.
Yeah,
Stuff
that
like
type
that.
of ages. Yeah, that type of thing. But yeah, mostly fake marketing meetings. Yeah.
I feel like now, though, like newspapers probably wouldn't run something like this.
No,
Or they
I
would
think
have
you're
to
right.
put like advertisement or
Right.
something at the top.
Yeah, they had to get the newspapers in on it, which is kind of interesting.
All right, what are you starting off with, Heath?
I'm starting off with a film called Twister.
Oh, very timely.
Very timely. This movie starred Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton and came out on May 10th of 1996. And for some reason, and I don't know, I wrote this down, everybody. I distinctly remember wearing my new Vans sneakers to the theater when I went and saw the movie. I want everyone to know I was wearing my new Vans.
Did you wear your yellow bomber jacket too?
I did not have that with me
bummer.
at the time, yeah.
My new fans.
So the movie tells the story of Joe and Bill, former spouses, current tornado enthusiasts, chasing a string of tornadoes across Oklahoma instead of running away from them, which is what I would recommend doing if you see a tornado. Bill has followed Joe to Oklahoma with his current fiance to get Joe to sign their divorce papers. The new fiance is a therapist, and I strongly feel that a good therapist would probably not accept a marriage proposal from someone who is still married.
Facts.
And also would not accompany that person on the trip to get their current wife to sign the divorce papers.
while chasing tornadoes.
Right.
Yeah.
I also feel like a good therapist would have recognized early on that there were still feelings there.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And that there was something real weird with his, desire to be in the midst of a tornado. Like, if that's not a metaphor, I don't know what is.
Yeah. He's got some stuff to work out.
Point.
So Joe's out in the field. She's researching tornadoes and trying to figure out a way to warn people about them with more advanced notice using a device that she's nicknamed Dorothy. From
yes,
The Wizard of
yes.
Oz. She developed that with Bill before their marriage collapsed. Now, rival storm chaser Jonas is trying to steal their idea and claim it as his own. So Bill puts the divorce papers on hold and agrees to one last storm-chasing mission.
One last ride, everybody.
I feel like every movie in the 80s involved the parents being out of town.
Yep.
And I feel like every movie in the 90s involved doing this one last time, whatever it was.
Well, and I mean, not to be the naysayer, but you could just sign the divorce papers and then still go on the trip.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
one doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can't do the other.
Yeah, there's a lot of manipulation happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So they got 4 Dorothy prototypes ready and to try and collect data before this Jonas character and can do it. And so they spend the next couple of days running around as tornadoes destroy a whole bunch of shit, including 3 of the Dorothys. The fiance is still with them, and she is repeatedly traumatized by what she's experiencing. And I don't blame her, or her white suit, which was not intended for this nonsense.
That's right. She wore a dress suit.
Yeah. Like
While chasing tornadoes.
I wouldn't recommend wearing white to Oklahoma on a good day, let alone a day where there's a bunch of tornadoes.
Girls,
Yeah.
get your shit together.
So a couple tornadoes later, the fiance hears Bill confessing that he still loves Joe by eavesdropping via CB radio, and that sounds like a beautiful country song if I've ever heard one. And I think someone should write that, and if you don't, I will.
You're right.
I think you should.
The fiance makes the right choice and gets the hell out of Oklahoma. Then an elusive nocturnal tornado hits a drive-in theater and a nearby town.
An elusive nocturnal
A
tornado.
nocturnal tornado. They don't happen
That
a lot.
never happens.
So by now it's time for the biggest tornado of them all, the F5.
Yes.
It makes quick work of their rival Jonas, who had too much hubris for his own good. Just sucked him right up and you never saw him again.
Do you remember who played Joe?
Wasn't it Billy Zane? That's what I'm thinking, but I don't remember off
Was
the top of my
Carrie
head.
Ewell's in it too? at
Why
some
did I
point?
think it
That's
was?
who it
Is it
was.
Carrie Ewell's?
Yes,
Okay.
that's who it was. Because Philip Seymour Hoffman is
Yes,
in
he
this movie,
is.
too.
He's
Yeah.
one of the scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just one Dorothy left, and Joe and Bill jump out of Bill's truck as it drives directly into the tornado, and it releases its probes into the wedge, which is not a euphemism. This is what
Probes in the wedge?
They probed the wedge,
They probed it good.
allowing them to collect the data that they wanted. However, the tornado is kind of chasing them now, so they strap themselves to some pipes inside an old barn, and the tornado passes over them. And they see that the inside of the tornado is actually kind of peaceful, which sounds dumb as hell to me. I don't believe it. I think it's a weird fairy tale. Instead of experiencing record-shattering trauma, the experience leads to their reconciliation.
They get horny. Horny for tornadoes.
Well, I think I think they're more in love with the adrenaline rush than each other, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like if the ex-fiance / therapist was still around, she could,
She would have
try to use
lots
some
say.
training, to apply this. So most of this film was shot in Oklahoma, but towards the end of production, they had to move to Iowa.
Did they?
Where we are, yeah. Because of the changing seasons, and Oklahoma looked too different from when they started shooting to when they were finishing the shoot. Filming in Iowa took place near Eldora and Ames, ironically enough, the home of the Iowa State University Cyclones.
Yeah.
Good
And
point.
one Michael Moraine.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. I forgot that part. So the production didn't really go smoothly. The director didn't get along with the camera crew, who at one point just completely walked off the set after the director shoved a camera assistant. This is Jan de Bont, you guys, the director of Speed. I didn't know he was.
God.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So shortly after that, the entire camera crew just left the production, and a new crew was brought in to replace them. And, again, ironically enough, they had lots of problems with weather during the production. So I suppose making a movie about bad weather is apparently more appealing than trying to shoot one while dealing with lightning and hail and flooding and all that shit. The film was notable for being one of the first movies to be released on DVD, which I did not know.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. And it was at the time the highest grossing movie in the history of Warner Brothers Motion Pictures.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
I remember it was everywhere that summer.
It was.
And it did feel like, one, none of these people had ever actually experienced a tornado.
right.
And 2, they made it seem way sexier than when we get our tornado sirens and I huddle in the basement.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not to be reckoned with. But
I don't think they've ever been in an Applebee's bathroom during a tornado, so discounted.
Exactly.
And I know a friend of mine went to school in Ames, went to Iowa State in Ames, and I remember him telling a story that he knew someone who heard that Helen Hunt made someone drive from Eldora to Ames to get a turkey sandwich. And like the context of that was like she was for high maintenance and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I mean, that's not the same as trash in a hotel room, you guys. Making somebody get a turkey sandwich, you gotta eat lunch.
Yeah, you gotta eat lunch, and they probably didn't have good ones in Eldora, so I had to go to Ames.
Yeah. So that was I remember driving by the house where they filmed the final scene too.
Really?
Like we found it like out in the country. Like you had to go way out of your way, and then it's like it was gated off. Like you couldn't get on the property, and you just like could look, and it was like, okay, well, we drove 20 miles out of our way to just stand here and look at this, but we saw it.
So how do you feel about the, I guess, sequel or reboot coming out this summer? Which one is it?
The creatively titled Twisters.
Yes, Twisters. It should be a Z at the end of it.
That sounds like a weird knockoff Dave and Buster's. Twisters!
Yeah.
I mean, I'll see it. Yeah. It was weird how excited I was to see the commercial during the Super Bowl. I didn't realize I was in deep with Twister, that I was real excited about the sequel. But I'll go see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like basically Glenn Powell is playing Bill Paxton and Daisy Edgar Jones.
Is it just like the same?
I don't think it's like a direct sequel, but I think it takes place in the same universe. Like I feel like at some point Helen Hunt's gonna show up, right? Like on a phone call or something. Yeah. Like she's not in the advertising.
Bill Paxton can't.
Are you gonna go?
Oh, I'll go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go with you.
Yeah, we can go. Yeah. I thought about going. This is unrelated to Twister or Twisters, but I thought about going to see Inside Out 2 last weekend.
Oh.
And then I was just like, I'm not going to a movie theater with a bunch of kids in it. I mean, I hear the movies. I hear the movie's good, but like, I'm not gonna.
You don't want to be the alone guy that then starts weeping. And
shut up, kids! I'm crying.
Yeah, keep it down.
You rotten bastards.
Yeah, you might get kicked out or something.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
I mean, that should raise some questions.
Yeah. Good movie. Good choice.
Thanks.
My next is also a movie film.
Oh boy.
Whoa!
And it's called The Craft.
I had a suspicion that you were going to talk about this movie.
I was like, oh shit, this has been waiting for me.
1996 was like movie when I was doing research, and I'm like, I'm fucked because I can't bring up any of these.
I feel like it's a good time to talk about The Craft. It feels like it's very hot right now, hip right now, because I mean it's cool ass witch realness.
I was not allowed to see this movie, so this is all new to me.
You never saw it? Let me tell you about this,
okay.
Gem.
I'm settled in. I'm excited.
Just picture goth alternative punk type witches.
I'm already in.
All right, in California. Mm-hmm. And so it starts with Sarah, who is Robin Tunney, and she moves to LA with her family. And at her new school, she sort of starts to fall in with a group of outcast girls who are Bonnie, Nancy, and Rochelle. Bonnie is Nev Campbell. Nancy is Fairuza Balk. Rochelle, I forget her name.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm already in.
And these girls have some trauma. So, of course, they are dabbling in witchcraft. Because what else do you do?
As one does, yeah.
And they notice...
Witchcraft is therapeutic.
It is. And they notice that the new girl, Sarah, actually has some witchy powers because she can levitate some pencils and stuff. And they're like, oh, this is our fourth. Okay. We've been wanting a coven. Yeah. And here we go.
Nailed it.
Do you have to have 4 for a coven? Like, is that the rule?
I don't think that is. Okay. No. And a lot of this stuff feels like made up. They're worshiping some deity called Manon. So together, the 4 of them start casting some spells. Sarah casts a love spell on Skeet Ulrich.
Oh.
Skeet. After he spreads the rumor that they had sex, and they didn't have sex. So she's like, guess what? You're going to fall in love with me, bitch. And he does.
Okay, I already like it.
Yeah. Rochelle casts a hair falling out spell on a racist bully, who is the woman married to Ben Stiller.
Oh, Christine Taylor.
That's it, Christine Taylor. Bonnie casts a spell to remove her burn scars, which are all over her body, and so she never shows any skin. She's always dressed, and now, boom, they're gone. And Nancy, Fairuza Balk, she wants power. So she gets her bad news stepdad to die from a heart attack.
Oh.
And then she and her mom get a hefty life insurance policy and move out of the trailer park and into a luxury apartment.
Wow.
But once you start getting power, you want more.
Yeah.
You just want more. So Nancy starts going off the deep end, dabbling in more and more black magic.
I don't know why all of a sudden I'm just like a teenager named Nancy. Like, what?
You're right.
Like a 16-year-old.
Especially the way she's dressed. Yeah. Well, that's not a Nancy. Yeah. So she's dabbling in more magic, and the others, Bonnie and Rochelle, they're getting more mercenary. They also want the power too. But Sarah, though, she's kind of appalled by the whole thing, and she tries to stop Nancy. She comes into her full power, and she's leaving them all behind. And there's a very sort of violent but satisfying end that I will not reveal because I want you to watch it.
Okay.
Are you allowed to watch it now?
Oh, good
I
call.
mean, I feel like I have autonomy now.
If you need to ask
I feel
permission,
better. You guys gave me permission.
Yes,
So I'm good.
okay,
I think
okay.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good follow-up question, though. Yeah. I mean, I'll see. I might have to get a note.
Okay.
Beyond the plot, which is good, but not necessarily revolutionary or anything, this was all about the clothes. They are super goth. They're super hot. The music is like goth and rock and coolness. It's the women themselves are hot. Skeet Ulrich is always hot.
Yeah.
And it was also about the idea of these, sort of discounted girls that get power. And then once you get power, you want more power so that you can sort of take out on the guys that didn't give you power before. It's that tale as old as time.
Yeah.
But really, it's the cool clothes and the hotness and the music and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, this has become a real cult classic. You see a lot of GIFs going around. And my favorite is when the four of them are on like a city bus and they get off the bus, but it's out in the middle of nowhere. And the bus driver says, "Gotta be careful out here. There's weirdos out here." And Nancy turns around. She's like, "Sir, we are the weirdos." And puts her sunglasses on and smiles, and the bus drives off.
That's delightful.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this movie had a lot of staying power. Unfortunately, there was a sequel a few years ago. I did not watch it.
Yeah.
Are any of the people from the first one in the
I
second one?
don't think so.
Okay.
No. So feels like trying to reboot something or create.
Yeah.
So The Craft.
I'm going to watch it. I mean, I heard a ton about it at the time. I mean, it's that age-old thing when religion makes it so you can't watch that. It just ups the factor of everyone wanting to see it.
Which is really fun because if you think about if they'd actually taken the time to watch it, they would have seen there's a whole lesson about power and about
But they're witches.
Of course, they're witches.
They're in black magic, and that's the devil.
And they're in goth clothes.
They let the devil in.
Well, they do actually.
And if they let the devil in, you'll let a boy in.
They do that too.
And that's what we're really concerned about.
That's right. You got to keep those knees shut tight against the devil.
Against the devil.
And all the boys that follow.
And you'd be so much prettier if you smiled more.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah.
Just don't talk and just smile.
Yeah. Those knees together.
Yeah.
Unroll your skirt. It's got to be the proper length.
So this was your childhood, huh? Yep. Okay.
Yep, that tracks.
Cool.
Well, I picked a song
Oh, nice.
Okay.
from 1996 because it's another thing that I have a very particularly memory of this. And I think it was because I was obsessed with the whole album. But this song, for some reason in particular, I just couldn't.
So it's the Macarena, right?
Yes, the Macarena. Nailed it. Can you imagine if I actually said that? It's the Macarena. Would you let me
You
do
would be
another
banned.
episode? Yeah.
You would be banned from this podcast.
And as it should be. That's fair. That's fair. It's the dab. No, I'm just kidding. It's Don't Speak by No Doubt.
Oh,
and I was obsessed with this whole album, Tragic Kingdom. It was a very popular song in 1996. It didn't actually make the top Hot 100 because of the rules of how it was released, not as a single, but as part of an album. But it was everywhere. It was nominated for Song of the Year. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed not to have heard this song at some point, or even now, because it gets replayed all the time. But I just absolutely fell in love with No Doubt at that time. And it still kind of is that way. Like, I can listen to this album at any time. I can listen to this song at any time. But I remember at the time, I was so into that whole album that I would write out the lyrics from the songs, and particularly note the Don't Speak, because something about the writing, it would help me kind of read it, and I'd be like looking for all these hidden meanings and symbolism. Like, I tore this album apart like it was a literary text. I don't really know what I learned, but I remember I did that often. Like, it was almost like a calming journaling exercise. Like, I would and then be like, oh, I bet this is about this. And we didn't really have the same internet that we have now, so you couldn't really check some of these things. You know, you only kind of knew what was put out in press releases.
And did we know at the time that there was the story of the two of them dating, and that this was about, like, you know,
well,
I can't remember if we knew it then or just
I think it was
later.
after, because the original version of it that was released is real upbeat. Okay. It's jazzy because it was when they were dating and things were going well, and it was supposed to be kind of about their relationship, and then they broke up, and Gwen Stefani rewrote parts of it with her brother Eric that was in the band to be a breakup song. So the whole vibe of it changed. So you can find the original of it like online, because they played it live a few times before they released it on this album in the version that we know. And it is a totally different thing. It's almost upsetting, frankly, to listen to it in that form. So if you're a big fan of the song, don't do it, because it's going to weird you out. But I loved it. I loved the album, and I was all about it. The video ended up being kind of a group therapy session, because the band was like on the verge of breaking up. Like, the tensions were so high, but they were committed to recording the video for it. Wow. And so they did that, and then something about being together through the process of the day, like they worked some stuff out, and the video came out, and
it was a great video.
It was amazing.
Very wow.
I'd like to. I mean, my love of No Doubt had continued. Like, I have listened to all of the albums that they've done since then, but nothing in my mind compares to Tragic Kingdom. That was like their pinnacle in my head. But so it was very weird then later in my later adult life to watch Gwen Stefani marry Blake Shelton.
Nope, I can't.
It was tough.
She had Gavin fucking Rosdale.
Yes.
Who was hotness.
Yeah.
And she married some fucking country dude? No.
And then they released a country song.
Gross.
And it was just, and not in the fun way that Beyonce did, that I could just like get behind, you know?
Yeah, no,
No, there wasn't any great little parts that I sing to myself all the time. It was just like, what'd you do to my memory? And that's where it is still. But so I choose not to even think about that. I only think about Gwen Stefani in that video.
Yeah.
With her band.
You're right. She kind of died in like the 2010s. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
she's gone.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You ruined it.
She was so cool in 95 and 96, like Just a Girl. And
I was obsessed. Like, even writing about this, I had to re-listen to the whole album again. And then it's like on repeat. And because it just has such a great memory for me.
And it reminds me of just ska was a big deal.
Yeah.
I liked that time.
I did too. I liked her whole vibe. I liked how she dressed. I was just obsessed with the whole thing. Yeah.
Yep.
I think I felt a kinship because she always wore the pleated skirts. This is what we had to wear to school. And so it always felt like she was, kind of pushing back against that, even though it was just a style choice. But felt like this big
Maybe
message.
She was pushing back.
Felt like she was speaking to me. She's the reason that I got Doc Martens. And promptly got one stolen.
She knew there was a 15-year-old out there writing lyrics down and trying to analyze. And she's like, this is for her.
This is who needs to hear this.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I think it was a little after this, it would have been maybe the late 90s or early 2000s when she got braces, but I don't think she needed them.
Yes.
I think it was just a fashion thing.
Yes. I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah, because her teeth were fine.
Yeah, because she dyed her hair bright pink.
Yep.
And she had like very severe bangs, and then
was that during her solo period, or
no,
was it was still with No Doubt?
Yeah, I think it was maybe when they released the follow up, maybe to Tragic Kingdom. So it'd been 2 or 3 years later.
Yep.
But yeah, I just remember. Yeah, it was like she got braces for fashion.
Yeah, they never really reclaimed the songwriting glory that was on Tragic
Yeah,
Kingdom.
no.
They lost the thread a little bit, but gosh, that's a good album.
Good
I
stuff.
still have my physical CD of it.
Yeah, you do?
Yeah, because why wouldn't I?
All right, Heath, where are you going to go from there?
I'm going to talk about a movie that I bet you guys haven't thought about in a long time,
Ooh.
if ever. If ever.
Oh no.
It's called Mr. Wrong, and it stars Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh my God, I remember this.
I remember this. Was it Bill Pullman?
And Bill Pullman, the other Bill from the mid-90s.
Yes.
One of the weirdest movies I've ever
so
seen, just for uncomfortability.
strange.
Yeah. It's allegedly a romantic comedy, though there isn't anything about it that's either romantic or comedic.
No.
I feel like it's describing a cold sore as a beauty mark. Like that's what this movie is. I mean, listen to this piece of shit of a movie. Listen to it. Ellen DeGeneres plays Martha, a single 31-year-old woman who is constantly nagged by her family for being single, as if being an adult single woman is the worst thing a person can be. They would have bitched less if she was a Nazi, I think. As long as she was married. If she's a married Nazi, they'd be
to
like,
another
that's
German,
fine.
yeah.
So after a terrible blind date on Valentine's Day, she ends up having a one-night stand with a man named Whitman Crawford, who is played by Bill Pullman. Who played the president in Independence Day later in 1996. And
he did.
What a year for him. And what a year for Skeet Ulrich and Nev Campbell, who were in The Craft and Scream.
Yeah.
And what a year for Tom Cruise we talked about earlier. He was in Jerry Maguire and Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time.
What a tender time.
Tender.
I don't know if that's the right word, but it felt good.
So Whitman seems like a great guy. He's a poet with money. That's what he tells her his job is.
That's not real.
And he wins over Martha's family, but they seem like awful people, so I wouldn't have trusted their judgment.
No.
So after dating for a while, Martha tells Whitman he can be himself because she feels confident that he's sort of, putting on a show and acting in a certain way. So he takes her up on his offer, and it turns out he's a real asswipe. He steals beer and then crushes the can on his forehead after chugging it. And I think they thought that would be funny. And I wonder why they thought that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a narcissist and a liar. Plus, he's got an ex-girlfriend who's deranged and wants him back. So she starts harassing Martha, so she'll break up with him. So even after Martha dumps Whitman, the crazy ex doesn't believe her and keeps harassing her. It doesn't
Now
help.
we're just talking about stalking.
Straight stalking.
Yeah.
Straight harassment.
It doesn't help that Whitman refuses to believe that he's been dumped. He tells her family that they're engaged, and they believe him, even though Martha says she wants nothing to do with him. Like, this is a movie they made and put out in theaters.
This is not good. This is like an instruction manual for creeps.
The Ellen DeGeneres movie, Mr. Wrong. His instruction manual for creeps is a great
This
thought.
is what happens when we make Ellen straight. It's not good.
That's the quote they should have put on the movie poster. Where they have the critics.
I think they should have gone with cold sore as a beauty mark.
So she tells her friends and her family, she tells coworkers, even a private detective, that he's a sociopath, but no one believes her. He gets her fired from her job, hits her with his car, drugs and abducts her, takes her to Mexico to force her to marry him. This isn't a movie that they think it's funny.
Now we're just talking the Harvey Weinstein story or the Bill Cosby story.
They
Like,
could
this
just
is not.
re-release it as
Yeah.
Harvey
Yeah, I mean,
Weinstein
certainly Gloria Steinem was like a consultant on this, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Mexico, Martha manages to call the one person who believes her, a former coworker who had a crush on her, which is, in and of itself, it's just sort of sad that this character doesn't even have one friend. That's just her friend, that's not a romantic thing.
Yeah.
But Whitman catches her and hangs up the phone call before taking her to a church to force her to marry him in front of her family, who he has brought to Mexico, where he kidnapped and abducted her and drugged her.
And they're like, this is great. She's going to
Yes.
get married?
It's messed up. The coworker she called shows up at the wedding and tries to shoot Whitman, but trips. Martha catches the gun, and it looks like she shoots Whitman, but it turns out that Whitman's ex actually shot him, and she was trying to shoot Martha.
Oh, this is just a light fun time.
But of course, the police don't believe her, and they arrest her anyway. Because if there's one takeaway from this film, it's that a single woman over the age of 30 should never be believed, trusted, or treated with any ounce of respect.
They have fucked up in life, so they have no rights.
Nope. The coworker busts her out of jail, and they escape into the desert. Apparently, they eventually return to the U.S. and start dating while assuming new identities. The movie doesn't specify, but I certainly hope she never talked to anyone in her family ever again. And as you may have guessed, critics and audiences hated the movie. It currently has a 6% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Holy shit.
And was described by one critic as a mean-spirited joke without a punchline.
Yeah.
And this is one of those situations where, like, there were so many people involved in that movie from start to finish. How did no one be like, this may not be a good idea?
Uh-huh.
Even Ellen herself.
Yeah. Well, she's so desperate to, like, keep up the idea that, yeah, I'm straight. I'll be in a straight romantic comedy, even though it's not funny.
Because I know, I mean, her sitcom was a hit at the time, and this was the year before she came out. You know, I mean, I don't know if it was her idea, if it was a manager, or someone who was just like, no, just do this. It'll be a good exposure, and And it came out right around Valentine's Day. And can you imagine, like, going to this for a date on Valentine's Day? Like,
I remember seeing this movie.
Yeah, me too.
And then I remember when she came out and everyone being like, oh, that's what was wrong with that movie.
No!
Like, that's not what was the problem. Like,
That is not...
like, I felt uncomfortable during that movie, and that's why! Because I couldn't believe she was straight. Not because of all the horrific things that happened.
Wow, that's yay America.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it. I don't think I saw it in the theater. Maybe
I
you
didn't
rented
either,
it or
yeah.
something. But I remember feeling deeply uncomfortable the whole time and thinking like, I don't know how to feel about this. Not because she was gay.
Right,
straight.
but just because she was being kidnapped and forced to marry someone
yeah.
and then got arrested for shooting someone she didn't shoot.
Right.
yeah, I feel like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen on YouTube someone post clips of the show The Big Bang Theory, but they take out the laugh track. And so you don't know when to laugh. And since, I mean, I'm not a fan of that show.
It's not a funny show.
It's not a funny show. So it's just, it's no laughing. And I feel like that's kind of what this is. It's just like,
Ooh.
No laughing.
like,
Yeah.
if they would have maybe had a laugh track, maybe you would have thought you were laughing at something. I don't know, but it feels like it's just like a laugh desert. Like you're just like there's no laughs anywhere to be
It feels like
found.
you went to like an improv show and they like just took it too far, and at the end everyone's like, "Oh, this is why we don't go to like mid-tier improv shows." Like, "Ooh, that got weird. Mm-mm. We need to forget about that." And then from then on, they're like, Steve, you don't get to pick what we do on Friday nights because remember that improv show we went to?
Yep.
But instead, it was a movie.
Instead, it was a movie.
6% though on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I would have made the critics who were like, yeah, that's okay. I mean, there
That's
was
a good
only
point.
a couple
Yeah.
of them apparently, but I would
Probably
like to,
guys that were creeps.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, as most reviewers were dudes. Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, good times.
That's a toughie.
What a great choice.
I do like that you brought it up, though,
Yeah,
because
me
as soon as you
too.
said it, I was like, I can see the cover.
Yeah, me too. Because
Yeah.
it was like he was behind her or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Wasn't
got-
she in a wedding dress on the
Yeah.
cover
She
too?
was,
Yeah.
yes.
Just imagine. I mean, I can't imagine Ellen wearing a wedding dress.
Nope,
I mean, even though I've just seen the picture of her wearing a wedding dress, it just doesn't seem.
No, it doesn't
Yeah,
fit.
it doesn't fit right.
Well, for my last thing, I'm going to do a U-turn or some sort of turn, a 3-point turn, a 5-point turn. I don't know.
A pit maneuver?
A pit. Yes, a pit maneuver right into a house.
Okay.
We're going to dive into language because some new words entered our lexicon in 1996. They appeared in print for the first time. Some of these have lasted the test of time, and others have disappeared. So I'm going to list the ones that I think have survived that we still are around, and then I'm going to ask you about the ones that I've never heard before and see what you think they mean.
Okay.
So the ones that survived are ad blocker, alt text, burner phone, cyber attack, DVR, flip phone,
Oh,
geotag, live streaming, phishing with a PH,
Oh, no.
pretty hot and ishing.
smartphone and smartwatch,
Okay.
and webisode.
Oh.
So those all appeared for the first time in print in 1996. And then there's a couple that I need you to explain to me.
Oh, boy.
I found out what they actually mean, so I
Okay.
have the definition. But kiteboarding.
Oh.
Kiteboarding?
Yeah. What do we think it is?
Is that like something like the water and like skiing kind of on the water, but like you
Held
have
up by like a kite
Yeah.
or like a parachute?
like parasailing?
That's what
type
it
thing?
is?
Yeah, it's like
Oh.
kite surfing.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But they've called it kiteboarding for some reason.
Okay.
Sounds stupid.
Sounds real stupid.
Yeah.
Here's another one that sounds stupid. Snowboard cross.
Snowboard cross?
Yes, all one word. Snowboard cross.
Was that a cross between snowboarding and cross country skiing?
No.
Like motocross? Are you snowboarding like down an obstacle course or something?
You are snowboarding down a hill with 4 to 6 other people, all just jammed together,
Oh.
No.
like in this race. So my takeaway from those two is 1996 introduced some weird, fucked up sports.
Yeah, we had enough
We don't
sports.
need.
This is.
We don't
Yeah,
need
everybody, we've
these.
got enough sports.
Yeah.
Sports.
We don't need to be inventing new ones.
And then the last one is yoctosecond.
Okay.
It's spelled YOCTO second, all one word.
What a violent sounding word.
Right? It is violent sounding. It feels
Sounds
like a
like
knife.
it kind of belongs in the like a Ghostbusters movie.
Like ectoplasm.
Yoctosecond.
Yoctosecond.
Yeah.
Yoctosecond. I have no idea.
This is 1 septillionth of a second. And if you're asking what septillionth is, great question. I had to look that up as well. It's 1 trillionth of a trillionth.
Why did this become a word in 1996? Who was doing that?
What was being measured?
Exactly. How are we measuring? Why do we know what a yoctosecond is? What is time at this point? Like, because we can't feel a yoctosecond.
No.
We don't measure track and cross country in yoctoseconds.
No. That's what I'm saying. How would you even get to this decimal point?
So I don't know what scientist Yahoo made this up, but
Yeah, that's bullshit. He just wanted to make a name for himself.
yeah. So we just made this up, and now this
And who can
exists.
test it? I mean, you
Right.
missed it. Oh, you missed it. Oh, you missed it. Oh, you missed it. Nope, you didn't get it. Sorry. Still didn't make it. Nope. Oh, nope. God, you're bad at this. It's Yoctos. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah.
I want them to introduce it into the Olympics. Like, well, they beat you by a yoctosecond, so boom,
we
you get
do
the
the
gold.
replay, but we missed it.
So that was language in 1996.
Okay.
Some stuff that's still around that probably at the time sounded like science fiction. I don't
Yeah.
remember hearing about any of this, but
Yeah.
and then some weird ass sports that have no business existing.
None.
It's
Nobody
an
wants them.
activity, and you know how I feel about activities, but generally it sounds like stupid activities.
This
Yeah.
is very dumb activities. I don't like it. I don't subscribe to it. Well, my last thing from 1996 is something else I have a strong memory of. Not for good reasons.
Oh.
But it's a toy called the Bop-It.
The what?
Bop-It.
Bop-It.
Bop-It?
Yeah, let me just show you. I might have forgot to cut it. I did. But this was a toy that originally came out in 1996. And if you don't remember, maybe just the song Bop-It
Nope.
would help. Okay.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
This is absolutely Amy's nightmare because it was a nightmare for me. It basically is like a long stick like figure that has an end that twists, an end that you can pull out, and a button in the middle that bops. And what it would do is when you turned it on, it would give you a series of commands like bop it, twist it, pull it, and you had to do it in the order that it said. And as you increased in levels, it would like bop it, twist it, pull it. Oh my god! Yeah, it was awful. It was so bad.
Stop yelling at me, toy.
Yes. So it originally came out in 1996. It took off. People loved it. It had iterations for years after that where they added other buttons, they added other commands.
Those are the people they made Mr. Wrong for. That's who they were making Mr.
Yes.
Wrong for.
That's
It's the people
exactly
that like
right.
to Bop-It.
What I found interesting is that
They probably played it on set. Like, this is going to be great.
I love this Bop-It game.
Yeah.
We should work it into the movie somehow. They claim a lot of things when I did research about like mimicking social interaction and brain stuff that they were trying to sell it to parents as it was somehow educational. And I can tell you as someone that had a brother that had one, it's terrifying. There's nothing about it that's stimulating brain activity. It made me sweaty. It made me angry. They're talking about all these levels you progress to in the game. Who got past level 1? Because that's all that I ever happened, is that you'd be like, Bop-It, twist it, pull it, and you would do it like 3 times, and you'd be like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And put it down. Because you're basically just getting yelled at, and you can never do them fast enough. At least I couldn't. My brain doesn't work that way. So, and I can still, like I said, like I've illustrated, voice the part. And it's like, Bop-It! Yeah. And it's that aggressive. It's that aggressive. I will tell you that vintage Bop-Its in their packaging go for $150 on eBay.
Oh.
So
How much do you think they sold for?
if you paid more than 20, you were a fool.
Yeah.
But I don't honestly remember. I remember seeing like other iterations of it. Like they rounded the handles and then they had like multiple buttons that kind of combined that like Simon Says game that had the light up things. And they've done like through 2010, they were still releasing different versions of it. But it was a toughie. I mean, as soon as I thought about it, there was a little bit of anxiety that came.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it. They made little mini versions, like keychain versions.
Oh. I feel like it's just like, if you want carpal tunnel, like just do this.
Yes.
Like that's
Also,
it's an
looking at
invitation.
it looks cheap as fuck.
Yeah.
By the way, yet another reminder to go to Instagram because you're going to be sharing this image, and anybody else that was affected by it.
Yeah.
Probably
I might try and even find an audio track of the Bop-It, pull it, twist
no.
it. Because
I'm going to have to subscribe from our own account.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe from our own account.
just mute that post. Because, yeah, it is. That's so funny because the whole time I was researching it, I was thinking of you. And I was thinking of you, young Amy, and someone handing this to you, and you just immediately like, dropping it like it was on fire. Like, what? No. Because it's the worst part of games. Like, you don't understand it. They're just yelling at you. And it
the
doesn't.
rules are nonsense.
Yeah.
So
how did that marketing meeting and development meeting come together? Like, how did someone come up with this?
I think
and all
that
the
you had
steps?
one guy in there that was trying to really live feminism, and he brought his kid to work, and that day, and everyone's like, haha, you're Mr. Mom, and he's like, I get it, so funny. And he had this meeting, and he's like, fuck, my kid's gonna be wild because he's just tearing up the office. He's like, oh, I got these random toy bits on my desk, I'm trying to create something. And he just came in and he sat the kid down, and he was like, Bop it, twist it, pull it. And the kid's like, okay. And then they were like, that's genius.
That's right. I think you're right.
Greg,
You did it!
Bop-It's the next thing. And then the next thing was they went and got a broom handle and taped all those parts, and they had the kid test it, and they were like, we got a winner. No revisions. Send it to market or development.
I hate Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he tried, but it didn't end well. I actually like to think that Greg quit after that. And he was like, you know what?
I shouldn't have done this.
I shouldn't have done this. I don't
Look at
feel
what I've
good.
wrought upon the world.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
I was just trying to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a terrible name too. It is.
It
a terrible
is.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bop-It. Yeah.
I don't
Stop
like it.
it.
I'm going to turn this over.
It also, actually, now that I look at it, I don't know why I just went there, but I did. It almost looks like a sex toy.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. With all the like twisting, and this part under here has me confused. Like it's like ribbed for her pleasure. Like I don't.
Oh
And you're right. The shape of it and the.
Are that the end? The end twists.
Yep. Twist.
I remember too, you were instructed to put your hand on that one grippy part and the other on the twist, because then you slide down and pull for the maximum speed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because what was that teaching young girls? That motion.
Your parents were worried about the craft. They should have been worried about Bop-It.
Yeah. It was tough.
There's definitely Satan involved in that.
For sure.
And his
For
little
sure.
overalls.
And his hooves sticking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bop it.
Get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
How about you, Heath? What's last?
I'm gonna bring us home with the Rosie O'Donnell show,
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. I love it.
which debuted on June 6th in 1996 and ran for 6 seasons. It's a lot of sixes in there. I feel like some
Satan.
folks might think Satan was involved in this.
I loved that show.
Yeah. Oh, I did too.
When I was reading up on 96, I found out something new about the Rosie O'Donnell show, which I didn't know before. It's that it was launched as a replacement for the talk show Carney that had run for one season the year before. Carney was hosted by Carney Wilson from Wilson Phillips.
Oh.
What?
I didn't know that.
What
Yeah.
were you doing?
And she had a kind of everyone remembers the Ricky Lake show.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a big, huge hit. And so in the aftermath of that becoming this huge pop culture kind of phenomenon, lots of sort of mid-level celebrities got talk shows.
Right. That makes sense.
Carney got one. Tempest Bledsoe, who played Vanessa on The Cosby Show, she had one.
Oh, what?
And Gabrielle Carteris from 90210, she had one.
I remember that.
Yeah. So the Rosie O'Donnell show was sold to affiliates across the country as a replacement for Carney, which had been canceled.
Okay.
The show had a fairly typical format with a monologue, and then Rosie would interview celebrity guests and banter with the leader of the house band. And she'd do cooking segments and that sort of thing. The big difference, I thought, was probably the level of enthusiasm with which Rosie approached this. Like, your Oprahs and your David Lettermans, they were engaging, but they were more professional is probably not the right word, but they just seemed
More
less
subdued, for
right.
sure.
Yeah. She seemed genuinely excited to be there. She'd shoot koosh balls into the audience, and she had a soundboard behind her desk where she'd play snippets from pop songs and show tunes. She'd tell self-deprecating personal stories. I once remember her telling a story about how she'd run out of toilet paper, so she used Kleenex mentholated tissue to wipe, and apparently it really, as they say, fired up her business department, if you know what I mean. And I also remember that, for better or worse, depending on how you feel about the band Savage Garden, she kind of made them a success.
She did?
Yeah. Well, on her soundboard that I mentioned before, she'd play a clip of from their song "I Want You," and that was the phrase. It was that cherry cola.
Yeah.
And she kept playing that because she really liked it, and that kind of the people seeked out the song, and it kind of became a hit afterwards.
She was like TikTok before TikTok existed.
Wow. I forgot about that part until you said it. Wow.
She kind of is also partially responsible for the Tickle Me Elmo craze because she featured the toy on her talk show a couple months before Christmas in 1996. And the manufacturer ended up producing an additional $600,000 to try to keep up with demand that holiday season. And I mean, the influence that she had over pop culture during her talk show, I mean, it's kind of unmatched. The closest person was probably Oprah when Oprah would do her favorite thing stuff. But even that, it wasn't like, Oprah would talk about her Ralph Lauren pajamas and they'd sell an extra 600,000 units. People, Oprah's audience would go and buy them. And it was,
You're right. This felt much more like, not necessarily attainable, but it was like, it felt more normal or like human or something in that way. Because at this point, we already knew Oprah was a billionaire.
Right.
And
Rosie and her favorite things, you're like, oh, your favorite pajamas are $250.
Right.
Like, that's not, whereas she was just like having fun and people were like, that's great. I love it.
Yeah. She was a little more accessible, probably, is maybe the word I should use. Scope Mouthwash released a list of least kissable celebrities in February of 97 and made the mistake of ranking Rosie as number 1 on that list. She responded by promoting Listerine on her show. And they thanked her by donating $1,000 to her charity every time a guest greeted her with a kiss on her talk show. And they ended up donating more than $150,000 to her charity. Can you imagine and rightfully so, the shitstorm that would happen today?
Yeah.
If someone released a list of least kissable celebrities.
If a company did that?
That's just so...
That's gross.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be most kissable and then use them and say they use Scope? It's not even a good marketing ploy.
Right. They went negative and they could have gone positive,
So she was a big fan of Barbra Streisand as a kid and had her on her show on the second season. And she was the only guest for the whole hour, which was kind of not something that happened very often then. She was also a big fan of Tom Cruise and had a running joke about how cute she thought he was and how she wanted him to come over to her house and do yard work.
That's kind of great.
He appeared in December of that year to promote Jerry Maguire, and there was a lot of well-intentioned but genuinely weird flirting between the two of them.
Also, can we imagine Tom Cruise doing yard work?
Yeah.
I can't. No. I feel like he'd go out there and like try and do some Scientology thing.
I feel like he'd go out there and be like, oh, cool, this set's very meta. Like, it's real leaves. Like, wow. You guys really went all out. I thought we were just going to like green screen in the landscape, but like, whoa.
He'd probably have to make it extreme. Like, hey, we want to mow a cliff. Like,
yes, he'd have to do something
he couldn't
crazy. You're right.
Mow the lawn. One of the
Doesn't
most
mow any
memorable
lawns.
guests she had on was Tom Selleck, of all people, who appeared in May of '99, about a month after the shootings at Columbine. And she confronted him about a recent commercial he had done for the NRA and challenged him about their position on the use of assault rifles. And I remember watching that when it was I watched that
I did
day.
too.
Yeah. His publicist later said that they had agreed not to discuss that, but Rosie O'Donnell said they were made very well aware ahead of time that she was going to bring it up.
Oof.
So, but the show ended in 2002 because Rosie said she wanted to spend more time with her family. She went on to be a co-host on The View for a year, and then she wrote some free verse poetry on her blog for a while too.
Oh no. Oh boy.
Yeah, she was known as the Queen of Nice on her show, and since it ended, we've learned that maybe she's more like the average amount of nice, rather than the queen of it, which honestly kind of, I think, makes her more likable.
At what point did we know that she was lesbian?
I was after the show ended. Like, I couldn't find anything that said. I think that was part of the reason why the show ended, because I think there was a disagreement about. I think it was just a lot of work. I think it's a lot of work doing a show like that 5 days a week, and I think there was maybe some disagreement about her wanting to come out and the producers maybe not. I was
gonna say, just knowing, like, since '97 when Ellen came out and all the horrific stuff that happened afterward, I imagine she felt like she had to, or they felt like she had to stay in the closet for a while. Yeah.
And then that's hard because when you're doing a show that's so personal and you're sharing personal stories and you can't really share certain parts of your life, that's difficult too. Like, it doesn't feel like you're being authentic probably on a level.
And the weird thing is, I mean, and they didn't know it obviously at the time, but like, I mean, part of the reason Ellen's show was the ratings fell off was because it just wasn't that funny. It wasn't because I think if it would have just been genuinely funny, it would have lasted longer. But it wasn't particularly funny because they just didn't. Yeah, they could have done a better job.
Yeah.
What a way to end Pride Month.
Ugh. Yes. We ended Pride on a prideful note.
What a wild ride we've had
Wild
this year.
ride.
Wild ride in June we've had.
Yeah, so, are we feeling, ready for the weirdness that is July and all of the Yay America stuff?
I mean, no, but it is what it is. It just comes at you, which is, kind of apropos for America.
It just comes
all
at
of a
you
sudden-
whether you want it or not.
Yeah. All of a sudden it's just stars and stripes, bitch. And you're like, okay, I'll just drink this down.
A lot of love it or leave it bullshit and
Heavy
fireworks
set of
going everywhere.
Weird patriotism.
So, until next time.
I was going to say stay weird. That's the wrong one.
That's the wrong show. Don't get our show confused.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Oh, Bop-It.
Fuzzy Memories is a Broads and Books production. It's hosted by Heath Smith, Aaron Johnston, and Amy Lee Lillard. The show is produced by Amy Lee Lillard. Follow us at Fuzzy Memories Pod on Instagram for clips and highlights. And follow us at Broads and Books Productions for updates on new shows coming your way. See you next time.
I know John Hamm was in the most recent season.
Yes. That was good too.
I haven't seen that one
Yeah.
yet.
That one's all about like preppers.
Oh.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
I know I read somewhere that there was someone, his character has pierced nipples. And there was like a makeup artist that had to measure his nipples and like create, because he didn't really want to get them pierced. Which,
Well, that's fair.
that's fair.
That's fair. Yeah.
Huh. What'd you do today, hon? Well, I made John Hamm's nipples.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel fine about that.